Let's talk about Russell Wilson coming to Cleveland today, Thursday, to visit with the Browns, and then going to New York to visit with the Giants on Friday. Because I don't want to go full conspiracy theory mode here, but I wonder if this is a tiny move in a huge chessboard for Russell Wilson to maybe get what he wants. And also maybe for the Browns a little bit. So I could see this being some type of leveraging or even maybe a scare tactic by Russ and by the Browns, because I could see Russell Wilson visiting with the Browns to let the Steelers know, if you really think I'm that bad, I'll go sign with Cleveland and I'll play you twice a year, and let me know if you want to go up against me twice a year. Or maybe the Browns are thinking, hey, if we don't have Kirk Cousins, then it's not a bad idea to begin barking up some other trees. Plus, it's an added bonus to bark up the tree of Russell Wilson, maybe try and scare the Steelers a little bit to go, all right, we got to re-sign Russ. We can't wait for Rodgers. What if Rodgers picks the Giants and then we don't get Russell Wilson because he goes to the Browns and we're left with Mason Rudolph, who just signed with the Steelers on a 2-year, $8 million deal to, I believe, be their backup and be their insurance policy. So what if the Browns want to maybe spark some fear a little bit into the Steelers to bring back Russell Wilson because they don't think Russell Wilson is all that great of a quarterback, and they wouldn't mind him being the rival quarterback for another season? I am understanding that that is a little bit of a reach, to say the least, and I'm probably biting off more than I can chew, but can we also put it past Andrew Berry? The guy loves to move in silence. No one saw him trading for Kenny Pickett, right? There was a whole lot of chatter about that. All of a sudden, the Browns are one of 2 finalists for Brandon Ayuk. All of a sudden, the Browns are in the midst of the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. Andrew Berry likes to have fun as a GM. Love him or hate him, at least he does the job how you and I would do the job as a fantasy football owner or a Madden GM, where we're not just going to be boring and sit back and make small, tiny moves. Like, he's the guy in your fantasy football league who loves making trades, who's always trying to wheel and deal. And as a fan for the Browns, you got to admit, at least it's fun to be a part of the news and be exciting. The 3 wins aren't fun, but the offseason surely is entertaining. So I am definitely, out kicking my coverage here on this idea. But what if Russ is just meeting with Cleveland to make the Steelers jealous? And what if the Browns are going, hey, let's bring Russ in because we should probably do our homework on him. We might not get Kirk Cousins if Kirk Cousins is their plan A. So we could fall in love with Russ. Plus, worst case scenario, we make the Steelers a little queasy, right? We make Pittsburgh a little uncomfortable with the possibility of Russ coming to Cleveland. Could be a win-win for both sides here. Now, as for Russ, just as a pure quarterback, and put all of my crazy conspiracy theory nonsense behind, let's just talk about him as a passer. Like, is he still a good quarterback? If the Browns do end up signing him, would this be a good transaction? Obviously, we know about the decline of Russ. It's really been going on for 4 years now. His last year in Pittsburgh, remember, he missed a little bit of time. Geno looked good filling in. Then he goes to Denver, year 1 with Nathaniel Hackett, 2022, abysmal. Better in 2023 with Sean Payton. And then 2024, the Broncos decide, we'd rather pay $85 million for you to go away from us than to be even a backup on our team. So he signs a cheap veteran minimum deal with the Steelers because he had $35 million in salary guaranteed from Denver. Then with the Steelers, he misses the first chunk of games. Justin Fields does pretty well. Russ takes over. Steelers start, moving along nicely. Then the Browns kind of broke them in the snow. And you look at the last 4 weeks of the regular season, Russell Wilson and the offense fell flat on its face. They went 0-4. They went from being one of the more feared teams, if you really believed in them, which I never did. I always thought they were frauds, to pretenders. And they ended the year 0-5 if you include their playoff loss as well. So a lot of people have asked me on Twitter, do you think it's a good idea? Should the Browns pursue Russell Wilson? Here's my 2 cents. You could do worse. Russell Wilson is not the worst quarterback in free agency. Let's establish that. There are definitely worse options out there. CC Kenny Pickett. Is Russell Wilson going to give me much inspiration? No. No, I'm not going to post a bunch of motivating poems and pictures of Russell Wilson coming to the Browns as this is going to be the guy that turns it all around for Cleveland. Listen to me. He is the savior. He's going to get the Browns to the playoffs again. I don't believe that. I also don't believe there's a lot of good options out there. I've been preaching this really since day one of the offseason. It's a bad time to need a quarterback. There's not a lot of good options in free agency, not a lot of good options in the draft. So making the best of a bad situation could mean Russell Wilson. The reason why I lean more towards Kirk Cousins over Russ is twofold. One, Kirk Cousins would be dirt cheap. It's my belief that the Falcons are going to release him, and then you can sign Cousins for a $2 million vet minimum deal. If Cousins still looks bad like he did in Atlanta towards the end in training camp, you can cut him. That's one big motivating factor for me. Whereas Russ, I think he's going to sign about a 2-year, $35-ish million contract. He's going to want to get paid, not huge money, but, pretty decent salary. And I'm not really interested in the Browns adding more dead money when they probably move on from him after this season. So that's one reason. Two, call me a sucker. I'm willing to believe that Kirk Cousins was not lying about his shoulder and elbow injury against the Saints in week 11 or week 12, whatever it was. And that's why all of a sudden he fell off the face of the earth. The guy was good for weeks 2 through 9. That's a big sample size right there. All of a sudden he's bad and it's the Achilles injury? I don't know. The Achilles injury wasn't a problem in October. Why is it a problem in November? Thank you, Reed. Look at the numbers. I'm willing to go, yeah, there's probably a reasonable explanation as to how this happened. It's one thing if he just sucked all year. That is just, he's washed and it's the Achilles. But weeks 1 through 9, really weeks 2 through 9, because week 1 against the Steelers, he wasn't very good. It was pretty darn good football from Cousins. So if it truly was just a shoulder and elbow injury, he's going to be 2 years removed from the Achilles injury, and then he'll be 8 months removed from a shoulder and elbow injury that did not even require surgery, so nothing too severe. Yeah, I think for $2 million, that might be better than what we saw from Russ when he was playing his best ball. Can we all agree? Kirk Cousins' best in 2024 versus Russ's best in 2024, Cousins wins. The guy threw 500 yards and 5 touchdowns in a game. So I am willing to bet $2 million on that guy than $35 million on a Russ who was healthy and still lost 4 games at the end of the year and looked bad doing so. So let me know if you would like to sign Russell Wilson. I want to talk next about what this means for the Browns at number 2 in the draft. And also, we got to address Joe Flacco because he's been a trending topic amongst Browns fans. So let me know what you think about Russell Wilson. Now, what does this mean for the number 2 overall pick? I don't think signing Russell Wilson is an indicator that they are going to draft a quarterback at number 2. Big word that I want to put in bold and italicized is think, because the Browns have been all over the map. They've been making moves that not many people forecasted or saw coming. But I'm not envisioning the Browns trying to nurture and develop Shedeur Sanders, say, with Russell Wilson and Kenny Pickett. Doesn't seem like that's a quarterback room that's going to help a young rookie develop. And if they do go that route, it's a bad decision by the Browns to get those veterans to develop a rookie quarterback. I think if you wanted to go that route, like Joe Flacco, I think could help a lot more in that department. But that would require Andrew Berry swallowing his pride for not re-signing him last year, and I don't think that's going to happen. But I don't believe Kirk. See, the thing with Kirk, though, is if you're getting Kirk to Cleveland, maybe that means you have to trade for him because the Falcons won't release him. And a trade, by the way, would just be a 6th and a 7th round pick swap. It would cost you, I think, believe me, nothing in a actual trade value. But the Falcons just want to get a little bit more financial relief in a trade versus a release. So that's the motivation for Atlanta to do a trade, not to get draft picks, but to get financial relief. And the Browns would not be on the hook for some ginormous contract. Kirk Cousins absolutely would have to rework his deal when getting traded to a new team. So Kirk Cousins, after going through that whole process last year in Atlanta, comes to Cleveland. They do the same thing with him again. You think Kirk's going to be very motivated? You just traded for one disgruntled employee to make him more disgruntled in Cleveland? He's got a no-trade clause. So if he catches wind that the Browns are going to draft a quarterback at 2, he'll just say, no, you can't trade for me. It's tough to say with any confidence, but gut tells me Cousins and Russ, they don't scream, we're drafting a QB at 2, because they don't scream like good quarterbacks to pair with a rookie quarterback. You know who does scream good quarterback to pair with a rookie quarterback? A guy like Jarrett Stidham. He re-signed with Denver, but he just did that process in Denver, right? There are some cheaper veteran options. Mason Rudolph. He's worked with a rookie quarterback before. Kenny Pickett. A little bit of Will Levis. Like, those are guys that would make more sense to me. So speaking of Kirk, this could go anyway. I still believe the Falcons are bluffing about their desire to keep him as a backup, because one with a brain would think keeping Kirk to back up Penix when he doesn't want to be there is a recipe for disaster. But then again, Atlanta has had losing seasons from 2018 to present. Wouldn't be out of the question for them, would it? 2019, it's been a lot of losing football for the Falcons. So maybe that's just what they're going to do. All right, before we get any further in today's episode, we have been live for the last 3 days of NFL free agency, a total of 12 and a half hours plus. So if you're looking for a Browns YouTube channel that hangs out day 1, day 2, day 3, and you better believe day 4 free agency starting at 2 p.m. Eastern today, click that subscribe button down below. We need 460 subscribers to reach our next milestone. Now, really quickly, I do want to give a big special shout out to our friends over at Mando. Mando is a whole body deodorant safe to use anywhere on your body. Now, I walk to work most days. It's about a 30-ish minute walk. It was like 80 degrees today in Texas, and that can cause me to work up quite a sweat. But I've got Mando in my pocket ready to roll with me anywhere, so that way I come into the office pit stain free. It was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. It is clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. Mando is now offering new customers $5 off their starter pack at shopmando.com with promo code CHAT. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products of your choice, along with free shipping. I've got that discount code to help you guys get hooked up on my favorite smelling whole body deodorant on the market. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code CHAT. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you use code CHAT at shopmando.com. Shopmando.com. That information is in the comments and description of today's video. Now, let's get back on track a little bit here with some more quarterback discussion, starting with Joe Flacco, because lots of Browns fans want to bring him back, and I understand the why behind it. It was a lot of fun in 2023. Joe Flacco has been the most fun quarterback for the Browns since Baker in 2020. Looking at about half a decade, and he's been the most fun. So, yeah, I don't think it's like a crazy thought to go, he's a free agent, worked out pretty well in 2023, came in, went 4-1, brought the Browns to the playoffs or helped them get to the playoffs. I'm not on the same wavelength, though. I think it's important to remember what 2024 Flacco was like. Wasn't quite as fun, but wasn't bad. I don't think he was like horrendous with the Colts. Sure, the wins might not have been the same, but I don't think a record is the best quarterback stat. But I'm also thinking about what Stefanski and Barry last saw from Flacco. That was 2 pick sixes in Houston in a playoff game. Turnovers have been the demise of this offense the last 2 years. You can blame it all on Watson. You can blame it on the offensive line. You can blame it on Chubb getting injured. When you lead the NFL in turnovers for the last 2 years, that's problem number 1. I don't think any quarterback who has a turnover tendency is going to be high up on their radar. So, Flacco, I think, should just be best preserved as a fun memory. It was a fun summer fling. Don't date the girl you met at summer camp. Let that be a memory you can save for later, but I'd rather just leave it as that. I don't want Flacco to come back stink because he's 41 now. And all of a sudden, Flacco as a Browns legend doesn't quite hit the same. And also, it's not even a personal opinion thing. I don't see Andrew Berry going, we didn't want to re-sign Flacco last year for no good reason, but we'll do it this year after a worse season. And he's 1 year older. What's the logic in that for Berry? I'm failing to see it from just a pure pride and ego standpoint. So if you had to pick a quarterback between the three we talked about, who would it be? Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, Joe Flacco. I'll rank him Kirk number one for the reasons I outlined earlier. Thing with Russ is he's not actually like horrible or anything like that. He's still a competent quarterback. I just don't want to hear the dog pound. Let's bark. No. I don't. It's a cringe thing. So the high knees, yeah, I'd probably go Flacco. I don't know. The real answer is there's no good option. All right, let's just quickly do a refresher on what the Browns have done so far in free agency. They traded for Kenny Pickett, which I'm not over the moon about. Doesn't cost you much. He's going to be a backup, but still, trading for players who suck, I'm never going to get behind. Cornelius Lucas is going to be a nice depth offensive tackle signing. He is going to replace James Hudson. He's $1 million less than James Hudson. Hudson got $11 million from the Giants, and he's better than James Hudson. Cheaper and better. Very good move by the Browns. Former first-round pick by the Buccaneers, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. I think this is just a Andrew Berry project signing. He loves acquiring highly drafted players who some teams have deemed no good. So a little bit of a boost at the edge department when it comes to a formerly highly drafted player. And then Devin Bush came back on a 1 year, $3 million deal. I like this contract, especially with the uncertainty surrounding Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. It's good to have some valuable depth behind him in case he misses time in 2025. Plus, I thought Bush just flat out played well for the second half of the season. As for some losses, DTR went to Philly in that Pickett trade. James Hudson, like we talked about, to the Giants. Mike Ford, good special teamer, going to Atlanta. Dalvin Tomlinson signed with the Arizona Cardinals. One guy that we didn't have in the signings that's not official, it's Malik Collins. I don't think it's really been officially finalized. Schefter said it, but then Mary Kay said they're still working through it. So put a pin in that. That's Malik Collins, the 49ers defensive tackle with 5 sacks last year. I think the subtraction of Tomlinson and the addition of Collins is a reflection of Jim Schwartz kind of wants to go a different direction with his defensive line, and he wants to have maybe less of a true nose tackle like Tomlinson and more of a pass rushing DT like Collins. That's going to have a consequence when it comes to stopping the run, but that's really the only way I can make sense of it, because I thought Tomlinson played very well last year, and evidently so did the Cardinals, who gave him a bigger contract than the Browns gave Collins. So that's what the market thinks of those two players right there. That's going to do it for us on today's episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Make sure you are subscribed. That way you can hang out with us during our live show, which will be at 2 p.m. Eastern today. So scroll on down, click the sub button if you haven't already.